Hello, world. Your favorite podcast host, Anthony Diaz, here with another episode of 50 States of Terror, the American Cryptid podcast. Um, yeah, today is Wednesday. It is 10:04 p.m. I was supposed to record last night, but I kind of fell asleep doing my homework, which is fine, which is okay. Um, it just means I was tired. I mean, I was doing work. I was working on prob and stats, and then um, like before I even knew what was going on, my eyes were just like kind of drooping down, and I kind of fell asleep. And I was like, you know what, I gotta stop. I had to stop. I had to let my brain take a break, and then turned everything off. And I planned on just laying down for about, I don't know, 30 minutes, but I completely knocked out. Um, so I had to finish everything up today, and then now I'm recording for tomorrow's episode release. I am pretty bad at scheduling things for me that I want to do that's fun. I tend to take like work priorities, but really hard to schedule something for myself that I really want to do, like record or write or draw, do music, all that stuff. So play games. So here I am. I'm recording about 2 hours before this was supposed to release. What's good is for the audio, it's not that bad. Post production is actually pretty easy. I'm fairly quick at it now. I know what to do very quickly, so it just runs. The problem is if the recording, or if like I screw up too many times on the reading, and I have to edit a lot of stuff out. For me, sometimes I'll just keep it in. I'm not worried about editing it uh too much for it to be like super, you know, worried about it, but it's fine. Um Before I go any further, I do want to to say that I found an amazing podcast. If you are into history, there's a podcast that I found, and how I found it is actually pretty interesting. Because I can do sponsored ads now on Buzzsprouts. Um, I'm not at the point to where they do it automatically for me. I have to go in and choose out of some that are kind of like shown to me, and I approve which ones I want in the show, and then it sends an approval to the show creator to see if they want to put that ad on my show. Um, well, I found this podcast called History Fix, and for the life of me, I can't remember the lady's name who does it. She was a former teacher, and her show is amazing, very well done, incredible incredible tempo, great pace. Probably one of the better history podcasts that I have listened to in a while. Um, it is really well done. History Fix. Um, Make sure you check it out. Uh, I did not apply, but I did approve the ad to be on my show, so listeners can click the link and go to her show, and there's like like a penny or something per click or whatever. That it the it's very small amount of money. But I think either I screwed something up or she didn't want to be on my show, so it's not going to be on the ads. But it doesn't matter. The show itself is amazing, and I just want to put that out there. The show is really good. Um, and let's see what else. I'm in week 7 now for grad school. It is still kicking my ass. But there's a break coming up in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. I think there's a break coming in 2 weeks, and then there is another break for Thanksgiving break, and then there's finals, which is the first or second week in December. Yeah, I'm still in limbo on how to pay for the rest of grad school, so I'll figure that out when it comes. I got my appeal letter in, so that's good. I have to appeal for the decision for my voc rehab education benefits, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah. Other than that, honestly, it's just been chugging along, man. It's chugging along. Um, let's get into the show. This is probably going to be a shorter episode, um, mainly because I have everything pretty much written out, and we're doing Singapore. We're doing Singapore. Uh, I have. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick so I can do the actual numbers. So on the stats on Buzzsprouts for the show, you can click on location and see where people are listening to your show, and that's from the last time when I did Germany, and I was saying, well, no, was it last time? No, it was, yeah, last week was no new cryptid. So I said, you know, if you are from these countries and you want for me to do a obscure cryptid or do something from your country, respond. I didn't get any responses, which is fine. But I'm noticing that I'm getting one individual from Singapore that is listening to the show. And whoever you are, I truly appreciate that you're listening to my show. I have one download from Singapore. So, like I said on the last episode, I had the United States, Germany, France, Brazil, Mexico, Singapore, United Kingdom for the last show. So I figured, well, I've already done Germany, I've done Mexico, I've done the UK. I'll probably do France and Brazil, because I think those are good. Those two will probably be really cool to do, to see what kind of cryptids come from France and Brazil. Without even doing any research on Brazil, I'm assuming Brazil will just be gnarly, just be a scary ass cryptid or a story itself. But I chose Singapore, so we are doing Singapore. Let me pull this back up, get my notes out. And you know, if you're watching the video, again, I do apologize. This is going to be a little late, but it will be out. My posture is all screwed up because apparently the back of my chair cracked and the screws are not fastening tightly enough to where the back of the chair is upright again. So it's a little off. So it's just messing up my back. I'll probably have to get a back support for this chair. This is probably one of my favorite chairs so far. This is from like Office Depot. It's a great chair. But anyway, Singapore. Let's do a little history of Singapore. An island south of Malaysia in the Ryu archipelago sits the country of Singapore. Let's start with the, oh man, I practiced this one too. The Srivijaya. The Srivijaya? Srivijaya Empire from 671 to 1025. This was a trade and rich empire. The Srivijaya Empire was known for controlling maritime trade routes between India and China, making it an extremely powerful kingdom. It was also a major development of Buddhism. The Indian Chola Empire came in 1025 and attacked the ports. Fast forward to 1299, a prince by the name of Asang Nila Utama, someone who claimed to be a descendant of Alexander the Great, after a storm, arrived on the island and saw a lion and built a city called Singapura, which is Sanskrit for lion city. And Sanskrit is a classical language and is the official language of India. If you ever heard someone speak Sanskrit, it's actually pretty amazing. What other languages are classical languages, you ask? Ancient Greek, Latin, Tamil, Hebrew, Persian, and classical Chinese, to name a few. In 1398, the Majapahit Empire came and seized this country. Keep in mind that trade and commercialism was this country's main economic drive. Now, enter the oh man, oh yeah. Again, this is one of those things where like I'm not gonna edit all this out. I'm just gonna keep it in because I don't have time. Enter the Johor Sultanate. Sultanate. And a sultanate is a land ruled by a sultan who is similar to a king, someone who rules by religious authority or political stronghold. This area was now in control by the Dutch. Then, like always, are you ready? Say it with me. Then came the British. Sir Stamford Raffles, or Raffles. I'm pretty sure it's probably Raffles. In 1891, went to Singapore and developed the area for British trade. Now we are beginning to see a large Chinese population immigrating to Singapore for employment. Now we fast forward to World War II. Japan invades Singapore and occupies the land and begins to decimate the Chinese. Japan surrenders in 1945, and then the English returns. Excuse me. There was political and economic unrest, and in 1963, Singapore joins Malaysia. Race riots began after differences between the Chinese and Malaysians. Then Singapore gets disbanded from Malaysia. They get kicked out of Malaysia, pretty much. The new solitary country of Singapore first prime minister was Lee Kuan Yew, who brought Singapore to a thriving and developed country. Singapore is one of the richest countries in the world, with a very high quality of life and thriving tourist destination. I have not been to Singapore, but I would absolutely love to visit and explore the beautiful scenery, eat the amazing food, and experience the wonder that is Singapore. If you haven't gone to a map recently, just to, I don't know why you would, but just to check out random countries, Singapore is a country that's its own island with smaller islands right next to it, but it just on the end of the peninsula, and then there's archipelago over here, and then like Australia and Papua New Guinea is east, and it's closer to the Philippines. Yeah, I think the Philippines. I have never been that part of the world. I've been to Japan, but anything south of that and west, I've never been, and I really want to go. Singapore just looks really cool. I've seen pictures in the tourist website, the Tour Singapore, the tourist site. It's really well done, and I don't know, this looks cool. Okay, let's get into the episode's topic. So we're not going to do a cryptid. We are going to do ghosts, paranormal type stuff. Because we're in the beginning of October instead of cryptids, and Singapore has some really good cryptids like the Monkey Man, the Bukit Timah, which is a large ape-like creature that walks on two legs. Does that remind you of anything? Huh? Sasquatch? Nah. I wanted to venture into the paranormal. Ghostly tales of Singapore. So let's start with the ghost of Bishan. This takes place in the Mass Rapid Transit Interchange station in Bishan. This area was built on, you guessed it, a burial ground. This burial ground was known as Pek Son Theng. The burial area was established by Cantonese and Hakka immigrants. So the Cantonese and Hakka people, that's the majority of the people who were buried at the location. So when this massive rapid transit station was built and completed, passengers started to see apparitions, strange phenomenon, and downright scary things, like a decapitated figure roaming the station. Investigations have occurred within the station. There are a couple of YouTube videos that did like paranormal investigations, um, not to like the extent of the American version of shows, where like it's 45 minutes and the editing process is just like it just makes you, I don't know, cringe sometimes because it kind of like forces you to think that they're ghosts. But the ones that I've seen on YouTube, there are, I think, two that are pretty good. Um, I haven't seen a like an apparition one, but I think they were doing EVPs. I can't remember what they were doing. Man, my brain is mush after doing homework. But anyway, you can find some of these on YouTube, and they're pretty good. And the history behind that whole area of Bishan and the burial ground, and how it was restored. It was not restorated, but like in the 1960s, they did land development and they started building urban housing, public housing in this area. So what they had to do was they had to figure out a way to have transit, and then they built this. Unfortunately, it was built on this burial ground where they uprooted and transported the bodies elsewhere. But if you are a paranormal analyst or paranormal investigator, you know that the spirit would probably just stay at the location and not go with the body. So that's interesting. Where was I? Investigations have occurred within the station, and apparently there is something with the last train that runs through Bishan, which has sparked stories and video shorts. Now, ghost stories are universal, right? It seems like every culture in existence has had or currently has ghost stories, and perhaps ways to calm the spirits. Other stories that come from Singapore are ghostly passengers in taxis, children playing at night in urban developed areas of Singapore, old military soldiers marching in fields. Singapore even has a festival linked to pleasing and driving out ghosts in spirit called the Hungry Ghost Offerings. Um, Very quickly, I think in the Hungry Ghost Offerings, they burn money, paper money. They have offerings of food, other things, just to kind of appease the spirits. And there's actually, I think there's rituals also that stem from Buddhism and Hinduism. I think also Hinduism, to drive out these spirits. So it's interesting because culturally it's still done, but to the point to where the locals are starting to like just kind of, I think not do it anymore, or take less value into it, because I did put that in here somewhere. The occasion is oh, there you go. Yeah. Let me keep reading. The occasion is taken slightly by the Singaporeans, but it is deeply rooted in tradition and ritual. Personally, I don't want to see ghost children playing in the streets, so nope, I'm not doing that at all. So I will partake in the hungry ghost offerings to keep children from not scaring the shit out of me. But yeah, it was pretty interesting to read. Like culturally, it's still done, but Singaporeans are like taken lightly to to it, having it done. It's almost like it's a fading tradition or a fading ritual that this culture itself is doing. Which actually, going back to the language, when I was talking about the language, the classical language, which is um, Sanskrit, the language portion of Singapore, I didn't actually find what the official language of Singapore is. Um, well, not fine. I actually wasn't looking for the official language of Singapore, but I kind of want to see what the blend of language, because language actually is very fascinating to me. I want to see what the blend of language was occurring by the time the English came back, because I know English um, is spoken in Singapore, but I wonder if there's like this blend of Sanskrit, or is there any other influences in that area that have an impact on this culture and on the language, because that's just fascinating to me. I really wish I had the time to learn more languages. Like I really want to learn Latin. I've always wanted to learn Latin. I've always wanted to learn Mandarin, because that's just a language that's just it sounds cool, and it's a language that I think people should at least attempt to try. um, I want to get better at Spanish. Obviously, I'm horrible at it, and I know my ancestors are like, what the?" I know I'm horrible. I'm horrible at it. And then if I had to pick one more, probably a toss between um maybe French or Italian, maybe even Japanese. I don't know. I've been thinking about that a lot, about learning languages and seeing what stuff is out there to learn language. Because Rosetta Stone, I mean, I haven't looked into Rosetta Stone in a while. I know it was like $100, but you still had to pay for some other stuff, and I don't know. And time right now, I have zero time to learn a language. But excuse me, like I said, if you ever hear anybody speak Sanskrit, it is a fascinating language, and I think one of the more difficult languages as well. The If I remember my research correctly, it's classified as one of the more difficult languages, but more logical. So I don't know how that works, but yeah, going back to the ghosts. Yeah, so Singapore has a a a, a good amount of these ghost stories, and what what kind of like jumped out when I was searching for cryptids or ghosts or and for Singapore was these stories are centralized by like this one graveyard. What I think is centralized by this one graveyard. It kind of like stems out. Now, of course, uh, this wasn't like it wasn't like a very extremely large graveyard site where it kind of just like uprooted this paranormal activity. I mean, I don't know. But what is scary about this is imagining yourself in the location of this underground mass transit station, and then it being night and you're seeing these apparitions and you're seeing these ghost figures and children. It's like I don't know, because to me to me uh being a believer in paranormal, okay, and knowing the this size of the United States and possibly going to a place that is presumably haunted, okay, because Singapore is such a close and very small island, I would assume just by like comparison that the gravity of how many paranormal activities or sightings would be exponentially larger. You know what I'm saying? It's like the whole country would be would be filled with ghosts. um, but I digress. Uh, yeah, so ghost stories in Singapore. Man, this has movie stuff written all over it, man. It'd be a fascinating movie to watch. Scary as hell too, because I can't imagine being in an underground rail system and then having apparitions and it being dark. I just, man, I don't know. It's just scary as shit. Well, Yeah, like I said, this is going to be a very short and sporadic episode. But thank you all for listening to this quick international edition of 50 States of Terror. I am your host, Anthony. And here is tonight's Ziggy's Wisdom. I stole this from George Bernard Shaw. 2% of the people think. 3% of the people think they think. And 95% of the people would rather die than think. And here is one from Jimi Hendrix. When the power of love overcomes the love of power. Whoops. Let me start that over. When the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Okay. Thanks for listening. Love you all. Later.